Pack your things. The house sells tomorrow. Don't bother showing up. I stared at the message from my father on my phone, my heart barely skipping a beat. I typed back a single word, okay. What Dad didn't know, and what no one in my family suspected, was that I already owned our family home. 3 years ago, I had quietly purchased it through my holding company, Kensington Properties LLC, after they'd fallen behind on their mortgage following my father's company, Harrington Builders, hitting financial trouble. The bank had been ready to foreclose, and I'd stepped in without telling anyone. For years, I'd let them live there rent-free, believing the house was still theirs, while their supposed mortgage payments were actually going into a trust fund I set up for their future. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Dad, and don't expect any help from the family. You've always been a disappointment. Time to face the real world. I placed my phone aside and returned to my quarterly reports. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. At 8:15 a.m., my office line rang. The display read, Richard Clark, my realtor handling the property situation discreetly. Good morning, Richard. Miss Bennett, we have a bit of an unusual situation, he said carefully. There's a gentleman here claiming he owns 57 Willow Drive and wants to list it immediately. Put him on speaker, I instructed. My father's voice boomed through the speaker. I don't know who this Kensington person is, but I own this house outright. I want it listed today for $850,000. Richard's tone remained calm. Sir, the county records indicate the property is owned by Kensington Properties LLC. Listing it would require the owner's consent. There was a long pause, then a crack in Dad's voice. I have the deed right here. This shows the original purchase from 2010. Yes, Richard replied smoothly, but the property was sold to Kensington Properties in 2021 after Harrington Builders defaulted on the mortgage. Permission from the current owner is required to proceed. I heard the disbelief in Dad's heavy breathing. I spoke gently. Richard, please give Mr. Harrington my contact information. I'd like to discuss this with him directly. 20 minutes later, my office phone rang. What is happening? Dad's voice erupted. Who is Kensington Properties? How did they get our house? I inhaled slowly. Hello, Dad. It's me, Emma. Kensington Properties is my company. I bought the house 3 years ago when your mortgage went into default. Another long pause. You own our home. Yes. And for the past 3 years, every payment you thought was going to the bank has been funding a trust fund set up for you and Mom's retirement. Dad's voice wavered. That's impossible. You don't have that kind of money. You work at a small tech company, drive that old Corolla. I drive a 2019 Toyota Camry, Dad. It's reliable. And yes, I work in tech. I'm CEO of Kensington Tech Solutions. I could hear him exhale, disbelief and shock colliding. Sit down, Dad. There's more. More? Kensington Properties doesn't just own your home. We own the entire Willow Drive neighborhood, 47 houses in total, purchased quietly over the last 4 years. A long, stunned silence followed. That's impossible. Show me. Send me the documentation. When you're ready, I will, I said calmly. And then we can talk about the future, your future, and ours. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe, we post one every week. You never asked, I said, my voice steady. Every time I tried to talk about my work, you'd change the subject or make some comment about me wasting time with computers. I could hear Mom in the background. What's going on? She asked, her voice trembling. Dad put me on speaker so she could hear everything. Emma, Mom's voice shook. What's happening? Hi, Mom. Dad and I are discussing the house situation. What house situation? Dad barked. Mom, sit down. There are things about my career you both need to know, things I haven't been able to share before. Over the next hour, I laid it all out. Kensington Tech Solutions, which I'd grown from a small consulting firm into a $180 million software company. Kensington Properties, my real estate arm, with more than 300 properties across 3 states. Kensington Foundation, which had donated $15 million to charitable causes in the last 2 years. But your apartment, Emma, Mom said, bewildered. It's so small. It's the penthouse of a building I own downtown. I like smaller spaces. And the car. Paid for and reliable. I don't need a luxury car to prove anything. Dad finally spoke, voice tight. Why didn't you tell us? Why let us think you were struggling? When, Dad? Every conversation growing up was about how disappointed you were in my choices. When exactly was I supposed to tell you about this? I heard Mom crying softly. 3 years ago, when you were facing foreclosure, I tried to offer help. You told me to focus on my own problems and stop trying to fix everyone else's with my computer games. I remember, Dad whispered. So I helped anyway, quietly. I bought your mortgage, let you stay in the house, and made sure your payments went toward securing your retirement instead of lining a bank's pockets. I saved your house, Dad. But more than that, I saved your dignity. You never had to know you'd lost it. My assistant's voice came over the intercom. Miss Bennett, your 10 a.m. is here. The mayor and city council members for the downtown development project. Thank you, Janet. Tell them I'll be 5 more minutes. Emma, Mom asked, did she just say the mayor? Yes. Kensington Tech Solutions is the lead contractor for the new Smart City initiative. We're rolling out AI-driven traffic management, digital infrastructure, and public safety systems across the metropolitan area. That's a government contract? Dad asked. A $250 million government contract, to be exact. We beat out Microsoft and Google for the bid. I heard him sit heavily. Dad, I need to take this meeting, but we should continue this conversation tonight. Can you and Mom meet me for dinner? Where? Mom asked. How about the Metropolitan downtown, top floor? That place costs $200 per person, Dad protested. I know, Dad. I eat there often. There was a long silence. Emma, Dad finally said, I owe you an apology. We owe you an apology. We'll talk tonight. 7 o'clock. We'll be there. After hanging up, I leaned back in my leather chair and looked out at the city below. 43 floors down, the streets bustled, powered in part by the systems my company had developed. Janet knocked. The mayor's delegation is ready. Send them in. And Janet, have my driver pick up my parents tonight, they're not used to downtown parking. Of course. The usual car. The Tesla Model S. It's time they saw that I didn't just succeed. I succeeded spectacularly. The meeting went smoothly. We discussed the second phase of the Smart City project, expanding our AI systems to automate utilities management and predict maintenance for city infrastructure. By the end, they'd approved an additional $85 million in funding. As the delegation departed, Mayor Whitman shook my hand firmly. Emma, I have to say, when we first met 3 years ago, I never imagined your company would change our city so profoundly. Crime is down 23%, traffic efficiency up 40%, and energy costs have fallen by 18%. You've exceeded every expectation. Thank you, Mayor Whitman. Phase 2 will deliver even more dramatic results, I replied. I believe it. Oh, and congratulations on your Forbes recognition, Tech Innovator of the Year. Well deserved. After they left, I spent the afternoon going through reports from all divisions. Kensington Tech Solutions now employed 847 people across 4 offices. Kensington Properties oversaw $89 million in real estate assets. Kensington Foundation had committed to building 3 new community centers and funding scholarships for 200 students this year. At 6:30 p.m., I left the office and walked to the parking garage. My black Model S was waiting along with my driver, Marcus. "Good evening, Miss Bennett. Should I pick up your parents first?" "Yes, please. They're at 1247 Willow Drive." "The house in your Kensington Properties portfolio?" "That's the one, Marcus. Tonight, they'll finally learn it's mine." The drive took 15 minutes. As we arrived, I saw Mom and Dad standing on the porch, dressed in their finest, looking nervous and uncertain. Marcus stepped out to open their doors. "Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Harrington. I'm Marcus, Miss Bennett's driver," he said politely. "Driver?" Mom whispered to Dad as they climbed in. "Good evening," I said once they were settled in the luxurious leather seats. "How are you both feeling?" "Confused," Dad admitted. "Emma, this car must cost more than I made in a year at Harrington Builders. It's efficient and environmentally friendly." "I like to make responsible choices," I replied. Mom ran her hands over the smooth leather. "It's so quiet and beautiful." "Electric vehicles are quieter than gas-powered ones," I explained. As we drove through downtown, Dad gazed out at the digital billboards and smart traffic lights I had installed. "These traffic systems, driving downtown is so much easier now. I designed and implemented them with my team," I said casually. We pulled up to the Metropolitan, where the valet recognized my car instantly. "Good evening, Miss Bennett. Your usual table," he said. "Yes, thank you, Francois," I replied. As we walked through the restaurant, several business leaders nodded respectfully in my direction. The maitre d' personally guided us to my regular corner booth, offering a panoramic view of the city. "Your wine selection is ready, Miss Bennett," he said. "Thank you, Francois." Mom looked around in awe. "Emma, everyone here seems to know you." "I eat here often. It's convenient to my office," I said. "Where is your office?" Dad asked. I pointed across the street to the gleaming skyscraper. "Kensington Tower. The entire 43rd floor." Dad followed my gesture, eyes widening at the illuminated Kensington Tech Solutions sign. "That whole building?" Mom whispered. "I own floors 40 through 45. The rest are leased to other companies," I explained. The waiter arrived with our wine, a $400 bottle of Bordeaux I had chosen earlier. "Miss Bennett, shall I pour the usual?" he asked. Once the wine was poured and our orders taken, Dad leaned forward. "Emma, I need to understand something. When did all this happen? When did you become so successful?" "It didn't happen overnight, Dad. I've been building these companies for 8 years, ever since I graduated from Stanford." "Stanford?" Mom's eyes widened. "We thought you went to State University." "I earned a full scholarship to Stanford for my master's in computer science and business administration." "You were both so busy with Michael's wedding that you never asked where I was going to school." The weight of that statement lingered in the air. Michael, their golden child, had always been the center of their attention while I quietly pursued degrees from one of the world's top universities. "We were so focused on the wedding," Mom admitted, tears brimming in her eyes. "After graduation, I founded Kensington Tech Solutions in a small rented office with just $15,000 in savings. That first year, I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week, building our initial software platform." "What kind of software?" Dad asked. "Predictive analytics for logistics and supply chain management. Essentially, I created systems that help companies anticipate what they need, when they need it, and how to deliver it most efficiently." Our appetizers arrived, lobster bisque and seared scallops. I continued. By year 2, we signed our first major client, Hamilton Manufacturing. That contract brought in $2.3 million and allowed me to hire 12 employees. Hamilton Manufacturing, Dad muttered. They were one of my biggest clients at Harrington Builders. We built their warehouse complex. I know. I recommended you for the project, I said calmly. Dad froze mid-bite. What? When Hamilton asked if I knew a reliable construction company, I gave them your information. That $4.7 million project that saved Harrington Builders from bankruptcy 3 years ago. That was me, helping you without you ever realizing it. Dad put down his fork completely. You got me that contract. I did. And when you ran into cash flow problems 6 months later, I ensured Hamilton paid their invoices early. I also arranged for 2 other companies to hire Harrington Builders for smaller projects. Why? Dad whispered. Because you're my father. Because I wanted your business to succeed. Because I hoped that maybe, if Harrington Builders was stable, you'd finally notice what I was building. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. We've been terrible parents. You're not, I said softly. You were just so focused on your definition of success that you missed the real one right in front of you. Our main courses arrived, but none of us touched them. Tell us about the house, Dad said. Tell us exactly what happened. I sipped my wine before speaking. 3 years ago, Harrington Builders defaulted on several major contracts. You'd overextended yourselves and cash flow issues were mounting. Dad nodded grimly. Peterson Plaza, we lost $200,000 on that alone. The bank was going to foreclose on the house in 30 days. I knew because I have software that monitors family assets. I wanted to make sure you'd be okay. When I saw the foreclosure notice, Kensington Properties purchased the mortgage from the bank. For how much? Mom asked. $340,000, plus $67,000 in back payments and fees. A total of $407,000. Dad paled. We had no idea it was that bad, he whispered. You weren't just in trouble. Harrington Builders was on the brink of bankruptcy, $89,000 in unpaid supplier bills, $34,000 in equipment loans, $23,000 in back taxes. How do you know the exact numbers? Mom asked, voice trembling. Because I paid all of it. Kensington Financial Services, another one of my companies, purchased the outstanding debts and restructured them into manageable payment plans. The table fell silent. Mom's tears flowed freely. Emma, she whispered. You saved us from bankruptcy, and we never even knew. I saved your home, preserved Dad's business reputation, and made sure you could retire with dignity. All while you told anyone who would listen that I was wasting my life on computers. Dad buried his face in his hands. We were so wrong. So incredibly wrong. I leaned back and continued, when you texted that you were selling the house and putting my things on the curb, I realized you still had no idea what I'd done for this family. What exactly have you done? Mom asked, voice trembling. Beyond the house and debts, what else? I pulled out my phone and opened the Kensington Foundation app. This foundation has donated $847,000 to local charities over the past 3 years. The Children's Hospital wing that opened last year. That was us. Pediatric surgery equipment. Funded by the foundation. The scholarship program at Jefferson High School. Also us. New computers at the public library. Yep, that too. You've donated almost $1 million. Dad asked, disbelief written across his face. $847,000 locally, $15.3 million total across all our markets. I scrolled through the app, project after project listed. Why didn't you tell us? Why keep it a secret? Mom asked. Every time I tried to share my work, you'd change the subject. Every family dinner, every phone call, every text, it was always about how disappointed you were in my choices. I showed them our text history. Look at this from last Christmas. I texted about landing a major contract, and you asked when I'd get a real job instead of playing with computers. Dad's face crumbled as he read it. Or this one from my birthday 6 months ago. I mentioned my company was expanding, and you texted about Michael buying a new truck and suggested I ask him for career advice. We were just trying to help, Mom said softly. You were being dismissive. There's a difference. Our waiter approached. Is everything okay? Your meals are getting cold. We're fine, thank you, I said. Could you wrap these up and bring the check? Of course, Miss Bennett. As we waited, Dad looked up. What happens now, with the house? That depends on you. The house is yours to live in as long as you want. The mortgage payments you've been making have been funding a retirement account with $89,000 in it. When you're ready to downsize, that money is yours. And Harrington Builders? Dad asked. Debt-free. 3 new contracts lined up through Kensington Financial Services. Dad, if you want to keep working, you can. If you want to retire, you can do that, too. The check arrived, $8.47 for dinner. I handed the waiter my black American Express card without glancing at the total. Emma, Mom whispered as we waited for the car. How can we ever make this up to you? Start by being proud of what I've accomplished, rather than ashamed. We are proud, Dad said quickly. We're incredibly proud. We never knew. You never knew because you never asked. And you didn't ask because you'd already decided my work wasn't important. The Tesla pulled up. Marcus stepped out to open the doors. One more thing, I said as we settled inside. Kensington Tech Solutions just won the contract to design the new smart city system for the entire state, $1.2 billion over 5 years. Dad stared, wide-eyed in the dim interior. Billion? With a B? Yes. Announcement hits tomorrow's newspaper. Kensington Tech Solutions is now one of the largest technology contractors in the region. Our daughter, Mom whispered to Dad, owns a billion-dollar company. Multiple companies, actually. As we drove through the city I'd helped build, my parents slowly absorbed the reality of what their so-called disappointing daughter had accomplished. Emma, Dad said as we turned onto Willow Drive. I texted that your stuff would be on the curb. You did, I said. But it's your house. It's always been mine for 3 years. So when you said you were putting me out, you were threatening to evict me from my own property. We arrived at the house and sat in silence for a moment. The realtor, Dad said suddenly. When I tried to list the house, he said it belonged to Kensington Properties. He was protecting you. Richard Clark is one of my employees, I said. He's managed the Kensington Properties portfolio for 2 years. His last name is Morrison. He's my cousin, my mom's sister's son. I hired him after he graduated from business school. Mom turned slowly to stare at me. Richard is working for you? Yes, I said. Richard, Jessica, Uncle Tom's daughter, and 3 of Dad's nephews. Kensington Companies employs 14 members of our extended family. 14. Dad's voice cracked. I believe in taking care of family, even when they don't realize they're being taken care of, I said. As my parents stepped out of the car, Dad turned back toward me. Will you come in, just for a few minutes? I looked at the house where I'd grown up, the house where I'd spent countless hours being told my interests weren't important, my goals weren't realistic, my achievements weren't worth celebrating. Not tonight, Dad. Maybe this weekend, I said. This weekend would be good, Mom said, dabbing at her eyes. We have a lot to talk about. We do, I agreed. As Marcus drove me back to my downtown penthouse, I reflected on the day. For 3 years, I had watched my parents struggle with the shame of nearly losing their home, never realizing their daughter had not only saved it, but quietly built an empire in the process. Tomorrow, the newspaper would announce the state contract. By next week, Kensington Tech Solutions would appear in the business section as one of the fastest-growing companies in the region. My parents would finally understand that their disappointing daughter had been quietly revolutionizing an entire industry. But tonight, for the first time in years, they'd go to sleep knowing their daughter was not a failure. She was a success beyond anything they had imagined, and she had been protecting them all along. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "Thank you for saving our home. Thank you for saving our dignity. And thank you for still calling us family after everything we put you through." I smiled and typed back, "That's what family does, Dad. We take care of each other, even when it's not appreciated." A few minutes later, another text arrived. "Tomorrow, can we start over? Can we learn about your work and be the parents you deserve?" "I'd like that very much," I replied. As the Tesla glided into the parking garage of Kensington Tower, I realized that sometimes the best kind of triumph isn't proving someone wrong, it's proving them wrong while still loving them enough to save them from themselves. And sometimes, the most successful people are the ones who succeed quietly, protecting those who never believed in them in the first place.